The King Who Always Waited. A calming bedtime story. Chapter 1. The Quiet Palace. You find yourself standing at the edge of twilight, where the last whispers of day surrender to the gentle embrace of night. Before you stretches an ancient path, worn smooth by countless centuries of footsteps, leading toward the silhouette of a palace that seems to have grown from the very earth itself. The stones beneath your feet are cool and welcoming, each one placed with such care that your steps make no sound, only the softest whisper of fabric against stone, as you move forward into this timeless realm. The palace gates stand open, never closed, never barred, as if welcoming all who seek the peace that dwells within. These gates are not made of iron or steel, but of dark wood so old, it has turned nearly black, carved with dragons that seem to breathe in the flickering light of paper lanterns. The dragons' eyes are kind, patient, filled with the wisdom of ages, and as you pass beneath their gentle gaze, you feel a deep sense of safety settling into your bones like warm honey. Lanterns hang everywhere, suspended from curved eaves and delicate posts, their soft paper shells glowing like captured moonbeams. The light they cast is golden and warm, creating pools of gentle illumination that merge and flow like a river of comfort through the palace grounds. Each lantern sways ever so slightly in the night breeze, creating subtle shifts in shadow and light that dance across the ancient walls, like the breath of sleeping giants. The walls themselves tell stories in their weathered surfaces, built from stones that have watched over this place since before memory began. Moss grows in the crevices between the stones, soft as velvet, creating patterns that shift and change as the lantern light moves across them. Here and there, small flowers have taken root in the mortar, their petals closed for the night, waiting patiently for dawn's gentle touch. As you walk deeper into the palace grounds, your footsteps echo softly in the corridors, but the echo is not sharp or harsh. Instead, it returns to you like a gentle whisper, as if the very walls are greeting you with quiet joy. The corridors are wide and gracious, with ceilings that disappear into shadows high above, supported by pillars carved from single pieces of jade green stone. Each pillar is unique, adorned with spiraling designs that seem to flow upward like frozen water, or vines reaching toward invisible sky. The floor beneath your feet is made of polished wood, so dark it reflects the lantern light like still water. Your reflection walks with you, a quiet companion that mirrors your peaceful movement through this sacred space. The wood is worn smooth by countless years, countless visitors who have walked these same paths, seeking the same quiet that you seek now. Tapestries hang along the walls, their silk surfaces shimmering with threads of gold and silver that catch the lantern light and hold it, creating constellations of tiny stars in the fabric. The images woven into these tapestries are peaceful scenes, cranes standing in still water, mountains shrouded in morning mist, cherry trees heavy with blossoms that seem to glow with their own inner light. Each tapestry tells a story of patience, of waiting, of finding beauty in stillness. You notice that there are no guards here, no servants rushing about with urgent tasks. The palace exists in a state of perfect calm, as if time itself has slowed to match the rhythm of a sleeping heart. Occasionally, you catch a glimpse of movement in the shadows, perhaps a cat padding silently across a distant courtyard, or leaves rustling in a breeze that carries the scent of jasmine and sandalwood. The air is filled with the most subtle of fragrances, Incense burns somewhere in the depths of the palace, its smoke rising in thin, lazy spirals that dissipate into the night air like prayers made visible. The scent is complex and layered, cedar and myrrh, rose and amber, with underneath it all the clean smell of rain on stone and the green fragrance of growing things. As you continue your slow exploration, you discover that the palace is built around courtyards, each one a small world unto itself. Some are paved with smooth stones arranged in patterns that spiral inward toward a central fountain, where water falls in the gentlest of cascades, creating a sound like distant rain. Others are filled with gardens, where night-blooming flowers release their perfume into the darkness, their white and pale yellow petals glowing like small moons in the lantern light. In one courtyard, you find a grove of bamboo, the tall stalks swaying gently in the night breeze. The sound they make is like the whisper of silk scarves, brushing against each other, a rhythm so soothing that you pause to listen, feeling your breathing slow to match the gentle music of the bamboo grove. The leaves rustle overhead, creating a canopy of sound that filters down around you like falling snow. Everywhere you look, there are small details that speak of care and attention, of love poured into every stone and beam. A small bridge arches over a stream so narrow you could step across it, but the bridge is there nonetheless, its railings carved with flowering vines, its surface worn smooth by gentle use. The stream beneath babbles softly to itself, carrying fallen petals and leaves on its slow journey through the palace grounds. You discover alcoves where meditation cushions wait in perfect readiness, their silk covers faded to the softest colors by age and use. Small altars hold offerings of fruit and flowers, tended by invisible hands with perfect devotion. Bronze mirrors reflect the lantern light back in golden circles, creating the illusion of additional lanterns floating in the air like fireflies. The palace seems to breathe around you, expanding and contracting with a rhythm so slow and deep that you can feel it in your own chest. This is a place where hurry has never existed, where urgency is an unknown word. Everything moves at the pace of seasons changing, of flowers opening, of stones being slowly polished by centuries of gentle rain. As you wander through corridor after corridor, courtyard after courtyard, you begin to understand that this palace is not just a building, but a state of mind made manifest in stone and wood and silk. It is patience itself given form, waiting itself made tangible. Every element has been placed with infinite care to create a space where the soul can rest, where the mind can settle like silt in still water. You notice that there are no clocks here, no way to measure the passage of time except by the subtle changes in the quality of light, the shifting positions of the lantern's shadows. Time flows differently in this place, measured not in minutes or hours, but in breaths, in heartbeats, in the slow unfurling of understanding. The silence here is not empty, but full of possibility, full of peace, full of the kind of deep quiet that exists at the center of all things. It is the silence of snow falling, of flowers blooming, of love growing steadily and surely without need for words. This silence wraps around you like the softest silk, supporting you, holding you, welcoming you deeper into its embrace. In one courtyard, you find a grove of bamboo, the tall stalks swaying gently in the night breeze. The sound they make is like the whisper of silk scarves, brushing against each other, a rhythm so soothing that you pause to listen, feeling your breathing slow to match the gentle music of the bamboo grove. The leaves rustle overhead, creating a canopy of sound that filters down around you like falling snow. Everywhere you look, there are small details that speak of care and attention, of love poured into every stone and beam. A small bridge arches over a stream so narrow you could step across it, but the bridge is there nonetheless, its railings carved with flowering vines, its surface worn smooth by gentle use. The stream beneath babbles softly to itself, carrying fallen petals and leaves on its slow journey through the palace grounds. You discover alcoves where meditation cushions wait in perfect readiness, their silk covers faded to the softest colors by age and use. Small altars hold offerings of fruit and flowers, tended by invisible hands with perfect devotion. Bronze mirrors reflect the lantern light back in golden circles, creating the illusion of additional lanterns floating in the air like fireflies. The palace seems to breathe around you, expanding and contracting with a rhythm so slow and deep that you can feel it in your own chest. This is a place where hurry has never existed, where urgency is an unknown word. Everything moves at the pace of seasons changing, of flowers opening, of stones being slowly polished by centuries of gentle rain. As you wander through corridor after corridor, courtyard after courtyard, you begin to understand that this palace is not just a building, but a state of mind made manifest in stone and wood and silk. It is patience itself given form, waiting itself made tangible. Every element has been placed with infinite care to create a space where the soul can rest, where the mind can settle like silt in still water. You notice that there are no clocks here, no way to measure the passage of time except by the subtle changes in the quality of light, the shifting positions of the lantern's shadows. Time flows differently in this place, measured not in minutes or hours, but in breaths, in heartbeats, in the slow unfurling of understanding. The silence here is not empty, but full of possibility, full of peace, full of the kind of deep quiet that exists at the center of all things. It is the silence of snow falling, of flowers blooming, of love growing steadily and surely without need for words. This silence wraps around you like the softest silk, supporting you, holding you, welcoming you deeper into its embrace. The moon hangs full and luminous above you, its face serene and knowing, casting everything in a soft, pearl-like radiance that transforms the ordinary into the magical. Under its gentle gaze, the garden reveals itself to you slowly, like a secret being shared by an old and trusted friend. Each step forward brings new wonders into view. Each turn in the path opens onto vistas that make your heart expand with quiet joy. The pathways here are made of smooth river stones, worn round by centuries of water and weather, arranged in patterns that seem to flow like frozen streams beneath your feet. Between the stones, moss grows in the softest cushions, glowing pale green in the moonlight, offering the gentlest of surfaces for your steps. The stones are warm from the day's sun, still holding that memory of heat even as the cool night air moves across them, creating a perfect balance of temperature that soothes your feet and anchors you in the present moment. Bamboo groves rise around you like living walls, their straight stalks reaching toward the star-scattered sky with a grace that speaks of perfect patience. The bamboo moves in the night breeze with a sound like gentle rain, like whispered secrets, like the breath of sleeping dragons. Each stalk is a different height, creating a natural harmony of vertical lines that draws your eye upward toward the infinite darkness where stars shine like scattered diamonds on black silk. As you move deeper into the bamboo grove, the moonlight filters down through the leaves in shifting patterns, creating a constantly changing tapestry of light and shadow on the path before you. The effect is hypnotic, meditative, like walking through a living kaleidoscope, where every step brings new configurations of beauty into view. The bamboo leaves rustle overhead, with the sound of prayer flags in a gentle wind, creating a canopy of whispered music that seems to emanate from the very air itself. Between the bamboo stalks, you catch glimpses of other wonders waiting to be discovered. A stone lantern stands half hidden among the green stalks, its paper surface glowing like a captured star, casting warm light that dances with the cool silver of the moon to create colors that have no names, but speak directly to the soul. The lantern sways gently on its post, creating an ever-changing interplay of light that makes the bamboo leaves shine like jade and emerald and the palest gold. The path winds deeper into the garden, following the natural contours of the land, never forcing its way through the landscape, but instead moving with it, like water finding its way to the sea. You follow its gentle curves, feeling no urgency, no need to reach any particular destination, content to let the path reveal its secrets at its own unhurried pace. Cherry trees begin to appear among the bamboo, their branches heavy with blossoms, but glow like small moons in the night air. The petals are white and palest pink, so delicate they seem to be made of moonbeams and sighs, of wishes and whispered prayers. Some petals drift down as you pass, falling like snow in spring, landing on your shoulders and in your hair with touches, so light they might be imagined, blessing your journey with their gentle benediction. The fragrance of cherry blossoms mingles with the green scent of bamboo and the subtle perfume of night-blooming jasmine that climbs the walls and posts throughout the garden. This combination creates an olfactory symphony that seems to change with each breath, revealing new notes and harmonies, new layers of beauty that make you want to breathe more slowly, more deeply, to savor each inhalation, sip of the finest wine. As you continue along the winding path, you discover that the garden is full of small surprises, tiny perfections that reward careful attention. A stone carved with flowing script catches the moonlight, its characters forming poetry written in a language you cannot read, but somehow understand, speaking of patience and peace, and the beauty found in simple things. A small bridge made of a single piece of stone arches over a stream so narrow and clear that it seems to be made of liquid moonlight, its surface disturbed only by the occasional fallen petal drifting downstream, a tiny boat carrying dreams to the sea. Between the bamboo stalks, you catch glimpses of other wonders waiting to be discovered. A stone lantern stands half hidden among the green stalks, its paper surface glowing like a captured star, casting warm light that dances with the cool silver of the moon to create colors that have no names, but speak directly to the soul. The lantern sways gently on its post, creating an ever-changing interplay of light that makes the bamboo leaves shine like jade and emerald and the palest gold. The path winds deeper into the garden, following the natural contours of the land, never forcing its way through the landscape, but instead moving with it, like water finding its way to the sea. You follow its gentle curves, feeling no urgency, no need to reach any particular destination, content to let the path reveal its secrets at its own unhurried pace. Cherry trees begin to appear among the bamboo, their branches heavy with blossoms that glow like small moons in the night air. The petals are white and palest pink, so delicate they seem to be made of moonbeams and sighs, of wishes, and whispered prayers. Some petals drift down as you pass, falling like snow in spring, landing on your shoulders, and in your hair with touches, so light they might be imagined, blessing your journey with their gentle benediction. The fragrance of cherry blossoms mingles with the green scent of bamboo, and the subtle perfume of night-blooming jasmine that climbs the walls and posts throughout the garden. This combination creates an olfactory symphony that seems to change with each breath, revealing new notes and harmonies, new layers of beauty that make you want to breathe more slowly, more deeply, to savor each inhalation a sip of the finest wine. As you continue along the winding path, you discover that the garden is full of small surprises, tiny perfections that reward careful attention. A stone carved with flowing script catches the moonlight, its characters forming poetry written in a language you cannot read, but somehow understand, speaking of patience and peace, and the beauty found in simple things. A small bridge made of a single piece of stone arches over a stream so narrow and clear that it seems to be made of liquid moonlight, its surface disturbed only by the occasional fall and petal drifting downstream, a tiny boat carrying dreams to the sea. The stream babbles to itself in the gentlest of voices, telling stories to the stones that line its bed, sharing secrets with the moss that grows along its banks. The sound is mesmerizing, rhythmic, like a lullaby sung by the earth itself, and you find yourself walking more and more slowly, matching your pace to the unhurried tempo of flowing water and growing things. Wooden benches appear along the path, placed with perfect intuition at spots where the view is most beautiful, where the interplay of light and shadow creates natural artwork that changes moment by moment with the movement of leaves and clouds. Each bench is weathered to a soft silver grey, worn smooth by countless visitors who have sat here before you, contemplating these same views, feeling this same deep peace settling into their bones. You pause at one of these benches, settling onto its smooth surface with a sigh of contentment. From here, you can see across a portion of the garden where lotus palms reflect the moon like mirrors, their surfaces disturbed only by the gentlest ripples that spread outward in perfect circles, carrying light and shadow in patterns that hypnotize and soothe. Lotus leaves float on the dark water like green islands, their surfaces beaded with droplets that capture and hold moonlight like liquid pearls. The lotus flowers themselves are closed for the night, their white and pink petals folded inward in perfect spirals, waiting patiently for dawn's first light to call them open again. Even closed, they possess a beauty that speaks of hidden depths, of mysteries folded within mysteries, of the patience required for all perfect things to bloom in their own time. Dragonflies hover over the water on wings, so delicate they are nearly invisible, their bodies catching glints of moonlight as they move in patterns that seem choreographed by some invisible hand. They make no sound, these night dancers, but their presence adds a sense of movement and life to the stillness, reminding you that even in the deepest peace, life continues its ancient rhythms, its eternal dance. The air is soft against your skin, neither warm nor cool, but perfectly temperate, like being embraced by the night itself. A gentle breeze moves through the garden, stirring the bamboo leaves into their whispering song, carrying the perfume of flowers and the clean scent of water over stone. This breeze seems to carry more than just fragrance. It carries peace itself, tangible as silk, settling around you like the most comfortable of garments. You notice that your breathing has slowed to match the rhythm of the garden, deep and even, drawing in not just air, but tranquility itself with each inhalation. Your heartbeat has found the tempo of the stream, steady and calm, no longer racing with the concerns of the day, but beating in harmony with the pulse of this timeless place. As you sit in perfect stillness, you become aware of other small details that reveal themselves only to patient observation. A night-blooming flower opens while you watch, its petals unfurling in slow motion like a prayer being offered to the moon. Somewhere in the bamboo grove, a night bird calls once, its voice clear and pure as crystal, then falls silent again, as if it has said all that needs to be said. The moon continues its stately journey across the star-filled sky, and its light shifts subtly as it moves, creating new configurations of shadow and illumination throughout the garden. What was hidden moments before is now revealed. What was illuminated now rests in gentle shadow. The garden transforming itself continuously while remaining fundamentally unchanged, like music that develops new themes while maintaining its essential harmony. You rise from the bench at last, feeling no urgency, but simply a quiet desire to continue your exploration, to see what other wonders this garden holds in its moonlit depths. Your movement disturbs a few cherry petals, which drift down around you like blessings, and you move forward along the path with steps that have found their own natural rhythm, no longer walking but flowing, no longer thinking but simply being, carried along by the garden's own deep current toward whatever waits ahead in the silver darkness. The bamboo continues to whisper its ancient songs, the stream continues its gentle conversation with the stones, and the moon continues to pour its blessing down over everything, transforming the garden into a realm where time moves like honey, where peace is not just a feeling, but the very substance of existence, where every breath is a meditation, and every step is a prayer answered before it is spoken. Chapter 3: The King's Reflection. The moonlit path curves ahead of you with a gentle question, leading deeper into the heart of the garden, where shadows grow softer, and the air itself seems to hold its breath in anticipation. Your feet, now accustomed to the rhythm of this timeless place, carry you forward with the unhurried grace of seasons changing, of tides turning, of all things that move according to their own inner wisdom, other than the demands of haste. The bamboo gives way gradually to more open spaces, where ancient trees spread their branches wide, creating canopies of leaves that filter the moonlight into patterns of silver lace upon the ground. These trees are old beyond measure, their trunks thick with centuries of growth, their bark worn smooth in places by the touch of countless hands, seeking comfort in their stability, their permanence, their quiet strength. As you follow the winding path, you begin to hear something new beneath the familiar whispers of bamboo and the gentle murmur of flowing water. It is the sound of deeper water, still water, water that has found its perfect level and rests there in complete contentment. The sound draws you forward, not with urgency, but with the same gentle insistence that draws a flower towards sunlight, that calls a river toward the sea. The path opens before you onto a sight that makes your heart expand with wonder and recognition. Though you have never been here before in your waking life, a pond stretches before you, perfectly round, its surface so still it might be made of polished obsidian, reflecting the moon and stars with such clarity that you cannot tell where water ends and sky begins. The reflection is so perfect, so complete, that you feel you are standing at the edge of infinity itself, looking down into the depths of heaven. At the far edge of this mirror pond, beneath the drooping branches of an ancient willow, whose trailing fronds touch the water's surface like gentle fingers, sits a figure so still, so perfectly at peace, that at first you mistake him for a statue carved from moon-pale stone. But as your eyes adjust to the interplay of shadow and silver light, you see the subtle rise and fall of breath, the gentle movement of robes stirring in the night breeze, and you realize you are in the presence of the king himself. He sits in the lotus position on a simple stone platform that rises just slightly above the water's edge, his back straight, but not rigid, his hands resting in his lap in the ancient gesture of meditation, his eyes half closed, gazing across the surface of the pond with an expression of such profound peace that just looking upon him makes your own shoulders relax, your own breathing deepen, your own spirit settle into stillness. The king's robes are the color of deep water, of night sky, of shadows beneath ancient trees, embroidered with silver thread that catches the moonlight and throws it back in subtle patterns that seem to shift and flow like living water. His hair, silver white with age and wisdom, is gathered simply at the nape of his neck, and his face, lined with years of contemplation and care, radiates a tranquility so profound it seems to emanate from his very being like warmth from a banked fire. You find yourself moving more slowly as you approach, not from fear or reverence, but from a deep understanding that haste has no place in the presence of such perfect stillness. Each step becomes a meditation in itself, your feet finding their placements with the same careful precision that a calligrapher uses to form each character, that a gardener uses to place each stone, that a master craftsman uses to create beauty from more materials. The king does not turn his head as you approach, does not acknowledge your presence with word or gesture, yet you feel utterly welcome, completely accepted, as if your arrival was not just expected, but had been awaited with the infinite patience of mountains, of oceans, of all things that measure time not in moments but in eons. His stillness is not the stillness of stone or wood, but the stillness of deep water, of cloudless sky, of perfect understanding that has no need for movement or words. You find a place to sit on the grass beside the pond, your position chosen instinctively to complete some pattern you not consciously perceive, but can feel in your bones. The grass is soft beneath you, cool with dew that has begun to form. As the night deepens, each blade perfect in its simplicity, each drop of moisture a tiny lens that captures and holds fragments of moonlight. From this new vantage point, you can see the king's reflection in the still water, an image so clear and undisturbed that it might be another being entirely, a twin spirit dwelling in the underwater realm of reflected sky and swimming stars. The reflection does not move when the king breathes, does not stir when the willow fronds brush the water surface, as if the two figures, the one above and the one below, exist in perfect harmony, but separate dimensions of being. The silence that surrounds the king feels like no silence you have ever experienced. It is not the absence of sound, but the presence of something infinitely more valuable, the deep quiet that exists at the center of all existence, the still point around which all movement revolves, the eternal pause between one breath and the next that contains all possibilities, all potential, all peace. As you sit in this profound quiet, You begin to understand that the king's waiting is not passive, not empty, but active and full and purposeful. He waits the way a seed waits in dark earth, knowing that its time will come. He waits the way a parent waits for a child to understand the lesson, with infinite patience and unshakable faith. He waits the way the dawn waits behind the mountains, certain of its arrival, content to come in its own perfect time. The pond before you both is more than water contained by earth and stone. It is a mirror that reflects not just images, but truths, not just light, but understanding. In its depths, you can see the history of every raindrop that has ever fallen into its embrace, the story of every leaf that has ever floated on its surface, the memory of every moon that has ever blessed it with silver light. Lotus buds rest on the water's surface, closed now in sleep but filled with the promise of tomorrow's opening, their tight spirals containing within themselves the entire universe of beauty that will unfold when the sun calls them awake. These buds seem to pulse gently with their own inner light, like hearts beating in slow, measured rhythm, like prayers offered in the language of growth and becoming. Fish move lazily in the depths of the pond, their forms dark and graceful, disturbing the water so little that the surface remains mirror smooth above them. They swim with the unhurried grace of creatures who have learned that the destination is less important than the journey, that arrival is less meaningful than the traveling, that being present in each moment is the only treasure worth seeking. The king's breathing becomes your breathing, his stillness becomes your stillness, his peace becomes your peace, until you can no longer tell where your awareness ends and his begins. You are both separate beings and one being, both individual drops and the same ocean, both unique expressions and the same eternal song sung in different keys. Time becomes meaningless in this place, in this moment, in this presence. Minutes might be hours, hours might be seconds, and it matters not at all, because you have entered a realm where time is measured, not by the movement of hands around a clock face, but by the depth of understanding, the quality of peace, the completeness of acceptance that settles into your being at the moment, settling to the bottom of still water. The moon moves across the sky, its light shifting the patterns of shadow and illumination around the pond, but the king remains motionless, a fixed point of tranquility and a world of gentle change. His constancy is not rigidity, but flexibility so perfect it appears as stillness, like a tree that bends with every wind, but never breaks, like water that yields to every obstacle, but never stops flowing toward its destination. You realize that you are witnessing something rare and precious, not just a king at rest, but kingship itself distilled to its purest essence. This is not power, as the world understands it, not dominion over others or command of armies or accumulation of wealth, but the deepest power of all, the power to be completely at peace, completely present, completely open to whatever each moment might bring. The king's face, illuminated by moonlight and reflected in still water, shows no trace of worrying, no shadow of doubt, no burden of responsibility. He has found that place beyond all such concerns, that center of perfect balance, where wisdom resides, where love dwells, where understanding blooms like lotus flowers opening to greet the dawn. As you sit beside him in this eternal moment, you feel your own burdens beginning to dissolve, your own worries losing their weight and substance, your own restless spirit finding at last the peace it has always sought. The king's presence is a teaching without words, a gift given freely, a reminder of what you have always known, but had forgotten, that perfect peace is not something to be achieved or earned, but something to be remembered, something to be allowed, something to be welcomed home. Chapter 4, Stories of the Ancients. The stillness beside the pond deepens around you like gathering twilight, and within that profound quiet, something begins to stir, not movement of body or sound of voice, but the ancient stirring of memory itself, of stories that live in the very air, waiting for moments such as this to whisper themselves into awareness. You sit beside the motionless king, and gradually become aware that the night breeze carries more than the fragrance of flowers and the sound of water. It carries the echoes of voices from long ago, speaking in tones so soft they might be mistaken for the rustle of leaves or the sigh of wind through bamboo. These are not voices speaking to you directly, but rather fragments of conversation drifting on the night air like pollen, like seeds of stories scattered by unseen hands, like memories made manifest in the space between breath and breath. The wind seems to gather these whispers from the stones of the palace, from the roots of ancient trees, from the depths of the pond itself, weaving them together into a tapestry of sound that tells the story of all who have walked these paths before you. You hear, or perhaps you remember, or perhaps you dream, the voice of an old woman speaking to a child in the gentle tones of bedtime stories. Long ago, when the world was younger and the moon was closer to the earth, there lived a king whose greatest strength was his ability to wait. While other rulers rushed to war or hurried to judgment, he sat beside still water and listened to the wisdom that comes only in silence. The voice fades like mist dissolving in sunlight, replaced by another, deeper, older, speaking in rhythms that matched the slow pulse of seasons changing. He understood that the mightiest oak grows slowly, that the deepest wells are dug with patience, that the truest wisdom comes not from quick answers, but from questions allowed to ripen like fruit on the branch, until their meaning falls naturally into the mind, like rain into thirsty earth. As you listen to these whispered tales, you realize that they are not separate stories, but facets of a single great story, like light broken by a prism into all its component colors, each voice adding its own hue to the complete spectrum of understanding. The wind brings you fragments of a scholar's lecture, delivered in some distant garden centuries ago. The ancient texts speak of Wu Wei, the art of not forcing, the strength that comes from yielding, the victory that requires no battle, because it wins through understanding rather than conquest. Another voice, younger, eager with the passion of new discovery. But Master, how can a king rule without taking action? How can he protect his people if he only sits and waits? And the answering voice, patient as still water, watch the moon, child. Does it strain to pull the tides? Does it hurry across the sky? Yet what force on earth is stronger than the ocean's rise and fall? What constancy more reliable than the moon's eternal journey? The stories weave around you like incense smoke, each one complete in itself, yet part of a larger pattern that grows more beautiful with each added thread. You hear tales of the king's early years, when he too was restless and quick to act, when he believed that strength meant speed, and wisdom meant having answers before questions were even asked. The voices tell of how he learned, through trial and gentle error, that the greatest power lies not in forcing solutions, but in creating space for solutions to emerge naturally, like flowers blooming in their proper season. A grandmother's voice, warm with love and rich with years. I remember when the drought came, how the people begged their king to make the rains return. Other rulers might have performed elaborate ceremonies or demanded sacrifices to the sky gods. But our king simply walked to the pond each day and sat beside the water, his stillness so perfect, his patience so complete, that the very sky began to remember how to weep with joy. And when the rains finally came, they fell gently, soaking deep into the earth rather than rushing away in floods, because they fell into a kingdom that had learned to wait with proper reverence. The wind shifts, bringing new voices, new fragments of the endless story. A monk speaking to his disciples, the king's palace has no dungeons, because he has no enemies. His authority comes not from fear, but from the deep recognition that he has found something we all seek, the place of perfect rest within himself. Who would rebel against such peace? Who would make war upon such understanding? Children's voices now, bright as temple bells, recounting lessons learned at their grandmother's knee, tell us again about the king who never raised his voice, who never needed to, because his whispers carried further than others' shouts. Tell us about how his gentleness was stronger than armor, his patience more powerful than armies, his waiting more active than all the hurrying in the world. The stories begin to layer upon one another like sediment in the pond's depths, each tale settling into your awareness with the weight of truth recognized, of wisdom remembered rather than learned. You hear accounts of visitors who came from distant lands, bringing urgent problems and desperate pleas, expecting quick solutions and immediate action. The voices tell how the king received each visitor with perfect attention, listening not just to their words, but to the silence between words, understanding not just their requests, but the deeper needs that drove those requests. A merchant's voice, bewildered, but grateful. I came to ask the king to lower the taxes on my goods, to grant me exclusive trading rights, to solve my problems with the stroke of a brush on parchment. Instead, he invited me to sit beside the pond and watch the fish swimming in the depths. I thought he was mocking me, ignoring my urgent needs. But as I sat there, hour after hour, my urgency began to dissolve like salt in water. I began to see that my problems were not really problems, but opportunities to learn patience, to discover new ways of doing business, to build relationships based on trust rather than advantage. When I finally left, I realized he had given me everything I truly needed, though nothing I had originally asked for. A scholar's analysis, delivered with academic precision, warmed by personal understanding, the king's method was not indifference, but the deepest form of care. By refusing to provide quick fixes, he forced each visitor to discover their own inner resources, their own capacity for wisdom and patience. His apparent inaction was the most profound action possible, the creation of space for others to grow into their own understanding. The voices tell of seasons when the kingdom faced challenges that would have toppled other realms, famines and floods, plagues and invasions, times when action seemed desperately needed and delay potentially catastrophic. Yet in each case, the king's profound stillness created a center of calm around which solutions could crystallize naturally, like ice forming in the perfect silence of winter nights. An old general, his voice rough with years, but soft with respect, I served 3 kings before him, and each one sought to solve problems with force, with speed, with the accumulation of power. But this king taught me that true strength is like the strength of water. It flows around obstacles, rather than battering against them. It finds the lowest path, rather than forcing the highest. It achieves victory, by making victory unnecessary. As the night deepens around you, the voices begin to merge into a single chorus, telling the ultimate story of how the king's waiting became a teaching, how his stillness became a gift to the world, how his reflection beside the pond became a mirror in which all who looked could see their own deepest nature, their own capacity for peace, their own ability to find strength in surrender and wisdom in patient silence. The wind carries one final voice, perhaps the king's own from some distant time, or perhaps the voice of the pond itself, or perhaps the collective whisper of all who have ever found peace in this sacred place. To wait is not to be passive, but to be ready. To be still is not to be empty, but to be full. To reflect is not to be inactive, but to be perfectly responsive to whatever the moment might bring. This is the teaching that needs no words, the wisdom that requires no explanation, the strength that conquers by never fighting, the love that heals by simply being present. The voices fade into the general whisper of wind through leaves, water over stones, night settling deeper into stillness. But their message remains, woven now into your own understanding, part of your own story that you will carry forward when you leave this place. A seed of ancient wisdom planted in the fertile soil of a mind, prepared by peace to receive it, and a heart opened by stillness to nurture it into bloom. Chapter 5, Restful Night. The ancient voices fade into the general symphony of night sounds, the gentle lapping of water against stone, the whisper of wind through bamboo leaves, the distant call of a night bird settling into its roost. The stories they have shared settle into your consciousness, like layers of silk, each narrative adding its own soft weight to the growing tapestry of understanding that now wraps around you like the most comfortable of blankets. The moon has travelled far across its celestial path since you first entered the palace grounds, and now it hangs lower in the star-scattered sky, its light taking on the deeper, richer quality that comes in the hours before dawn. This light falls differently now, softer and more golden, creating longer shadows that pull like dark honey between the stones and beneath the trailing branches of the willow that guards the pond. You feel the natural tiredness that comes at the end of a perfect day beginning to settle into your bones, but it is not the heavy exhaustion that demands collapse. Instead, it is the gentle fatigue of deep satisfaction, of a spirit that has been fed and nourished, of a mind that has been stilled and clarified, of a heart that has been opened and filled. This tiredness does not drag you down, but rather invites you to settle, to sink gratefully into the embrace of rest. The king beside the pond has not moved throughout your vigil, his stillness so complete that he seems to have become part of the landscape itself, as permanent and peaceful as the ancient stones, as eternal and unchanging as the water that reflects his image. Yet there is something different about his presence now, a subtle shift in the quality of his stillness that speaks not of statue-like rigidity, but of the deepest possible relaxation, the most profound surrender to the natural rhythms of rest. His breathing has grown even slower and deeper, each inhalation and exhalation spaced with the unhurried rhythm of tides, of seasons turning, of all things that move according to their own inner wisdom rather than external demands. The rise and fall of his chest creates gentle ripples in the fabric of his robes, tiny movements that catch the moonlight and release it again like captured starlight being offered back to the sky. You realize that you are witnessing something rare and sacred, not just a king at rest, but rest itself personified, sleep itself made manifest in human form. The king has become a living demonstration of how to surrender completely to the night's embrace, how to let go of the day's concerns so thoroughly that the body becomes weightless, the mind becomes clear as still water, and the spirit merges with the infinite peace that underlies all existence. Following his wordless example, you allow your own body to settle more completely into the soft grass beside the pond. The earth beneath you is warm and welcoming, still holding the memory of the day's sunlight, even as it receives the night's cooling dew. Blades of grass cushion your form, thousands of tiny pillows, each one perfectly placed to support you, to hold you, to cradle you as tenderly as a mother holds her sleeping child. You let your head rest against a smooth stone that seems to have been positioned precisely for this purpose, its surface worn to silk-like smoothness by centuries of rain and wind, and the touch of countless others who have found rest in this sacred place. The stone is cool against your cheek, pleasantly solid, connecting you to the earth's ancient stability, while your eyes remain free to gaze upward at the infinite tapestry of stars. The sky above you is a masterpiece painted in silver and deep blue-black, with stars scattered across its surface, like diamonds sewn onto silk by the most skilled of celestial seamstresses. Some stars shine steadily, their light constant and reliable as old friends, while others seem to pulse gently, breathing light into the darkness with the same rhythm that moves through all living things. Occasionally, a star seems to shift position ever so slightly, though you know it is only your eyes that move, your perspective that changes, as you settle deeper into perfect stillness. The Milky Way flows across the dome of sky like a river of crushed pearls, like spilled moonlight, like the path that connects all dreams to their source. Its pale luminescence creates a bridge between earth and heaven, and as you gaze upon it, you feel yourself becoming part of that cosmic flow, your own small consciousness merging with the vast current of existence that carries all things toward their ultimate destination in perfect peace. A gentle breeze moves through the garden, stirring the bamboo into its whispered music, rustling the leaves of the cherry trees, so that a few more petals drift down like blessings, like prayers made visible, like love letters written by the night to the earth. These petals land on your upturned face with touches so light they might be imagined, each one a tiny kiss from the garden itself, welcoming you into its embrace, accepting you as part of its eternal story. The fragrance that moves with this breeze is like a lullaby for the senses, jasmine and cherry blossoms, the green scent of growing bamboo, the clean smell of water over stone, and underneath it all, the deep, rich fragrance of earth itself, of soil that has nurtured countless generations of growth, of ground that has supported the footsteps of pilgrims and kings and children at play, of land that has been blessed by countless seasons of rain and sun, and the patient care of loving hands. Your breathing naturally synchronizes with the rhythm of the wind, with the gentle pulse of the bamboo's movement, with the king's own deep and measured breath. Each inhalation draws in not just air, but peace itself, tranquility made tangible, serenity distilled into its purest essence. Each exhalation releases not just carbon dioxide, but all the tensions and worries that you carried into this sacred space, all the urgencies and anxieties that belong to the daylight world of hurry and concern. The sound of water becomes more prominent as your other senses settle into quietude. The gentle murmur of the stream, that feeds the pond, creating a constant backdrop of liquid music that speaks in the universal language of flow and movement, and the endless journey of all things toward the sea. This sound is hypnotic, meditative, like a mantra chanted by the earth itself, and you feel your consciousness beginning to drift with it, to float upon it like a leaf carried by a gentle current toward unknown, but welcoming shores. Fish continue to move lazily in the depths of the pond, their forms creating subtle disturbances in the reflected starlight, turning the water's surface into a living constellation that mirrors the sky above, while creating its own unique patterns of beauty. These movements are so gentle, so perfectly in harmony with the water's natural flow, that they seem less like swimming than like breathing, like the pond's own slow pulse made visible. The lotus buds on the water surface have begun to show the first subtle signs of their eventual opening, their tightly folded petals loosening just slightly in response to some internal clock that measures not minutes or hours, but the deeper rhythms of growth and becoming. Even in their sleep, they are preparing for tomorrow's awakening, for the moment when the sun's first rays will call them into full bloom, transforming them from promises into fulfillment, from potential into reality. As you lie there in perfect comfort, perfectly supported by the earth and embraced by the night, you begin to understand that this is how sleep should always be, not a collapse into unconsciousness, but a gentle surrender to rest, not an escape from reality, but a deeper entry into the reality that underlies all surface appearances. This is sleep as meditation, rest as worship, night as a temple, where the soul comes to be renewed and restored. The palace around you seems to settle deeper into its own slumber, the lanterns burning lower, but never going out, their gentle light creating pools of warmth and safety throughout the gardens and courtyards. The walls and stones and wooden beams seem to breathe with the slow rhythm of centuries, expanding and contracting almost imperceptibly as they participate in the great breathing of the earth itself. You become aware that you are not alone in your rest. Throughout the palace grounds, others are settling into their own peaceful sleep. Gardeners who tend these grounds with loving care, scholars who study the ancient texts, servants who move through their duties with the unhurried grace of those who understand that service itself is a form of meditation. All are finding their rest in their own way. All are surrendering to the night's gentle embrace. All are becoming part of the great symphony of sleep that rises from the earth each night like incense, like prayer, like love made audible. The king's presence beside the pond continues to radiate the deepest peace, his stillness now so complete that he seems to have become a conduit for tranquility itself, a living meditation that blesses all who come within its influence. You feel that blessing settling over you like the softest silk, like morning mist, like the most gentle rain that soaks deep into thirsty earth, without creating even the smallest disturbance on the surface. Your eyelids grow heavy with the sweetest tiredness, not the heaviness of exhaustion, but the pleasant weight of deep satisfaction, of a day well lived, of a spirit well nourished, of a heart well filled with beauty and peace and understanding. Each blink lasts a little longer than the last, your eyes opening each time to the same vista of stars and water, and the king's serene silhouette, each view seeming more dreamlike, more perfect, more touched with the magic that lives at the boundary between waking and sleeping. The boundary between yourself and the world around you begins to soften and blur, the edges of your individual consciousness merging with the greater consciousness that flows through all things like sap through trees, like water through rivers, like breath through lungs. You are still yourself, still aware of your own thoughts and sensations, but you are also becoming part of something larger, something that includes the king and the pond, the bamboo and the cherry blossoms, the fish swimming in dark water, and the stars swimming in darker sky. This merging is not a loss of self, but an expansion of self, not a dissolution, but a deeper integration with the fundamental unity that connects all things. You remain individual like a note in a symphony, but you become aware of the music that contains that note, the harmony that gives it meaning, the silence that makes it possible. The night deepens around you, and with it deepens your own descent into the most restful sleep, the most peaceful rest, the most healing slumber. Your breathing becomes so quiet it barely stirs the air, your heartbeat so gentle it barely disturbs the silence, your presence so still it becomes indistinguishable from the stones and water and growing things that surround you. Yet even as you surrender to sleep's embrace, part of you remains gently aware, like a candle flame that burns steadily even in the deepest darkness, like a spring that flows continuously even in the quietest forest, like love that continues even when there are no words to express it. This awareness is not wakeful in the ordinary sense, but awake in a deeper way, alert to the subtle movements of peace itself, responsive to the gentle currents of healing that flow through the night like an underground river of renewal. In this state between waking and sleeping, between individual consciousness and universal awareness, you rest as the king rests, as the palace rests, as the earth itself rests in the confidence that dawn will come in its own perfect time, that light will return when darkness has done its work of restoration, that awakening will be all the sweeter for the depth of the sleep that precedes it. The stars continue their ancient dance overhead, the water continues its eternal song, and the king continues his perfect vigil beside the pond, where all reflections merge into one reflection, where all stories become one story, where all rest becomes the single, timeless rest that awaits all who learn to wait with patience, to sit with stillness, and to trust in the wisdom that comes only in perfect quiet, perfect peace, perfect surrender to the gentle rhythms of the night. And in this surrender, in this trust, in this perfect peace that passes all understanding, you find the deepest rest, the most healing sleep, the most complete restoration that the human spirit can know. The king who always waited has taught you the secret of his waiting, that it is not empty time passed in inactivity, but full time spent in the deepest possible presence, the most complete possible peace, the most perfect possible preparation for whatever gift the dawn might bring. Sleep comes at last, gentle as morning mist, soft as fallen petals, deep as still water reflecting eternal stars. And in that sleep, you rest as royalty rests, as wisdom rests, as love itself rests in the certainty of its own eternal nature, forever patient, forever peaceful, forever present in the heart of all who learn to wait with the stillness of mountains, the gentleness of water, and the infinite patience of those who understand that the greatest treasures come not to those who seek them frantically, but to those who prepare a quiet space within themselves and wait with perfect trust for grace to arrive in its own perfect time.